So you know the story about it.
For all the codes. 되나? 여기 거기 이렇게 세로나.
Hello. Okay, shall we begin?
So this is informal, so no need to do any prostration. Please have a seat. So no prostrations today. Yeah, no need. This is more like informal. Okay, good morning and welcome to our first session. So normally we recite some prayers before the talk, but today this is more like a lecture rather than teaching. So we are not doing all those prayers. And I'm also doing live streaming at the same time, so I don't know whether it's working or not. So the reason why I'm doing this topic is because that we moved to this new area, and I have been receiving emails from people who are coming for the first time for the classes. And this year onward, so I decided that we will spend at least first half an hour on doing actual meditation. So normally it's more of a pedagogy, we just talk. So we don't do much meditation. So that's the change that we have incorporated. And because of that, I thought that it is good to do this introductory talk. So what I am covering today is very basic, rudimentary. So some of you who are already advanced in your meditation, so you may find it like, it was not worth. It was just waste of my time. So if that happens, I apologize. But this is really meant for the beginners. And another reason is, if we have the same kind of a base, then when we conduct the meditation, so at least everybody will be on the same page, and then you know what kind of meditation we are going to do, and then you can decide whether it is worth your time to come or not. And another point I wanted to highlight is that, so there may be people who are purely interested in doing just meditation. So for that reason, so in the subsequent classes, what will happen is, we start with the meditation for maybe 25 to half an hour, then we have a break, we have a tea or something, whatever is served. Then after that, we will continue with our usual class, which is more of a covering different texts. So if you are interested to stay for the classes, you are welcome to do so. If you feel that you are only interested in meditation, you are also free to leave. So that one, yeah, I wanted to make it very clear. So I assume that most of you have been doing meditation. Maybe some of you are already up there. Anyway, let's just go through some of the principles. So I feel that it is important to talk a little bit about the reason behind meditation. So why do we need to do meditation? Why is it so important? Meditation has become such a popular topic. And you will hear that everywhere there is some form of meditation, whether it is proper meditation or not. Everybody kinds of associate meditation to happiness, peace, relaxation. So since we are coming from the Buddhist perspective, so I thought it is important to cover this reason why meditation is important for us. So this, I always like this verse from great Indian master, Indian scholar Shantideva. So it says, although they wish to be free from suffering, so they means us. We wish to be free from suffering. We rush straight into suffering. Although they long for lasting happiness, in their ignorance they destroy their own joy as if it were an enemy. How many would you agree to this? I think at the surface, we will say that no, that's not true. Why would we destroy our own happiness? Why would we rush towards suffering? I'm not that stupid, I'm clever, isn't it? But then, if we really think through, if we really analyze that, this really, really encapsulates, really captures our condition, our predicament. For us, ordinary people. Although we wish to be free from suffering. Nobody wishes to experience suffering. Everybody, whatever we are doing from the morning till we go to sleep, whatever activities we do, whatever endeavor we engage in, is all about happiness, isn't it? Everybody is working towards achieving this lasting happiness. And then also at the same time, we are trying our best to avoid suffering. But we always end up the other way. Always end up having suffering, and happiness seems always, elusive. Hey! It's very hard to catch. So this is all boils down to this line. They rush straight into suffering, although they long for lasting happiness. In their ignorance, the key word is ignorance. They destroy their own joy as if it were an enemy. So it is the ignorance. Shantideva was saying that we think we ourselves very clever, but he says that no, we are so ignorant. We are ignorant about the causes and conditions that give rise to happiness. We are ignorant about causes and conditions that give rise to suffering. Because of that, we very diligently cultivate causes and conditions that give rise to suffering. We fail to cultivate the causes and conditions that give rise to happiness. So as a result, it's the law of causation. So if you have cultivated no causes to be happy, you cannot expect happiness. I normally give this example of strawberries and chilies. If you plant a chili seed, you cannot expect to have a bountiful harvest of strawberries. That's not going to happen. You will have chili for sure, but not strawberries. So that's what Shantideva was saying. And now imagine, now just kind of think, what are things that we do to achieve happiness, lasting happiness? What is our view of the causes and conditions to become happy? Very common thing is wealth, money. Most of the people believe that if we have wealth, if we become rich, if we have lots of money, wow, I will be happier. Then fame, power. If I become famous, I will be happy. If I become powerful. But that's not true. Research have established that. There is something called Easterlin paradox. So Easterlin has done so much research on income's impact on happiness. He has done so much research and he came up with this Easterlin paradox. It's a paradox because the assumption is that the more income you get, you are expected to be happier. But that's not the case. Of course, when you are at what is called the subsistence levels, when you are really struggling with the basic needs, then of course income has positive effect. But when you reach a certain level, it just plateaus. And for me, it's not just plateau, it really causes more suffering, more pain, more worry. If we are to compare our happiness of a billionaire to an ordinary monk in a monastery, it will be very interesting to see the result. Who score higher in happiness? Here you have a billionaire It's like unimaginable, unfathomable amount of money. And there you have an ordinary monk who runs around empty pocket. But if you are to measure the happiness level, it will be very interesting. And there is a basis for that. For that monk, that one tummy full of food is served by monastery, they won't go hungry, and there's no other worry. Whereas for billionaires, they are constantly watching the exchange. If a president says something else, they are worried, they are already checking their stock. And I have a friend who sleeps with, what's that, BlackBerry, where you can check your, that stock. So research has shown repeatedly that wealth and money is not an issue. And then fame. We have so many celebrities committing suicides. That's a known fact. If fame equals happiness, why would they even consider, even think about committing suicide? They commit suicide because they are unhappy. There's so much pain and sorrow. And then it comes to power. The world's most powerful person. We know what kind of mental state. The world leaders, they have more worry and concern than ourselves, ordinary people. So that's why it's saying that we are moving towards the wrong direction. We have a saying in Tibetan, if you want the sunshine, then you have to face the direction where the sun is out. If you go to the west and say, oh, I want the sunshine, that's not going to happen. So we have been doing this. We have been cultivating causes to experience suffering, but we are always wishing to be happy. So that's why we need to change that. So what does Buddhism say about the causes of happiness? So this is the essence. Do not commit any unwholesome actions. Buddha has taught so many volumes of teachings. So if one is to summarize that whole teachings, so this can be summarized in one stanza. Do not commit any unwholesome actions. Do perfect wholesome actions. So these first two are very similar with other faith. Other faiths also in Christianity talk about do not do evils, do virtue, same. But here, the difference is that completely tame your mind. So Buddha is saying that all these unwholesome actions and wholesome actions stem from your mind. So mind is the source of all this. Mind is the creator of all this. So until we make some changes to that source, then we will be continuously engaging in these unwholesome actions. So we have to kind of tackle the source, which is our mind. So from the Buddhist point of view, the ordinary people's mind is like wild elephant. It's wild. If you don't tame it, it can cause so much destruction. So that's why the whole point, the essence of the Buddhism is about taming our mind. It's transforming our mind. So that's when the meditation comes in. Just to give you an example, how powerful the mindset is. So what you see here is supposedly a blind person. So he is crossing the road and then accidentally spills. Let's say you are walking together in this is what we call the crossing the road, and suddenly you realize that somebody spilled a coffee on your best shirt. You are wearing that expensive shirt, and you get so angry, and then you turn around. And then what happens? You find that, oh, it's a blind person. What happens? Our reaction changes. Our attitude changes. Our response will be different. If it weren't a blind person, you would have big fight. You are already so angry. There was a rage. But then when you realize that it's a blind person, that rage disappears, vanishes. It's all here, mind. Same situation. If it weren't a blind person, if somebody spills, it's the same action. It's just because your mind interprets differently. So that's why the power of mind. So we are not accustomed to this. We are not accustomed to what you call what is that word? Anyway, yeah, let's just stick to interpret. So we fail to interpret in a, what do you call, more a kind of broader way. We have a very narrow view. So the moment there is a stimuli, we just use that narrow lens, and then that's it. We react. But if we accustomed ourselves to having a broader view, like this one, if we are able to think, in this case, it is very obvious he's a blind person. But if somebody spills, if you are able to think, oh, maybe that person is in a rush, maybe he's really have an important meeting or an appointment or interview, he has to rush, or maybe something happened, something else has happened. If we are able to bring all these possibilities, we will be able to regulate our emotion in a positive way. But at the moment, most of us, including myself, is always react. That's why we say that most of us react, not respond, because we don't have the time. We are not used to having this kind of broader view. Just to give you an example, I think many of you have seen this. Since we have time, let's just watch this.
How old are you, Susan?
I am 47.
Can you hear? It's okay.
That's
from
just
here.
one side of me.
Okay.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by.
You didn't expect that, did you? Did you? No.
I dream that love would never die. I dream that
Here's yes or no.
An incredible performance. Laughing at you. No one is laughing now. When you stood there with that cheeky grin and said, I want to be like Elaine Page, everyone was laughing at you. No one is laughing now. That was stunning. An incredible performance.
Okay, moment of truth. Here's yes or no.
The biggest yes I have ever given anybody.
Amanda?
Yes, definitely. Brilliant.
Susan Boyle, you can go back to the village with your head held high. It's 3 yeses.
So you understand why I'm trying to show this? What do you think? What I'm trying to convey? That we are very skeptical. We are very quick to judge a person. Because we already have this preconceived notion from our narrow understanding. So when we see certain people, when we see something that kind of appearance, we are very quick to judge. So then this happens. You saw that when she appeared, everybody was very skeptical. Nobody really expects her to have that kind of skill. So I find this, I watched this so many times. So when I first saw this, it was like, wow. And it is very good to remember this. So when you are meeting new people, new person, or wherever you are encountering people, just think that, oh, it could be another Susan Boyle. Then how we react to them, how we respond to them would be different. And in the end, who benefits? We benefits. The person, it will be the same person, but we will benefit. So we have this kind of thinking, this kind of habit, this kind of tendency. So we need to modify that. We need to transform that. Anyway, I'm not going to cover this. So now, question is, if our goal is to transform, how should we go about? So this is called two-prong approach. So we can adopt this two-prong approach. So first thing is like the scale. At the moment, like myself, the destructive emotions, the non-virtue or the unwholesome is really heavy. It's a lot. The positive emotions, the positive qualities, very light. So we have to try to bring it. So we try to take out from that one so that this will weigh a bit heavier. And of course, eventually we wanted to make it like this. But if we are able to make it at least balanced, that's still something. So on the one hand, we have to reduce. Of course, the best is if we can eradicate all the, what is, in Buddhist term, we call it afflictive emotions. Anger, hatred, jealousy, greed. If you are able to eradicate completely, that would be the best. If not, at least reduce. If not, at least regulate well. Try to find a way to regulate in a positive way. And then on the other hand, we have to enhance the good qualities. We all have good qualities, and we all have the potential to be the best of the best. It's just that it's being covered in layers. So the analogy used is like a gold. If you have a gold, a normal gold, and the gold that is covered in mud, In terms of value, it's same. This is 1 kilo, this is 1 kilo gold, same quality, but one is at the moment covered in mud. So we need to remove that dirt. We need to cleanse this, we need to wash that. Once if we are able to wash that clearly, that the shine, it will shine. We will see the glitters of that gold. So it's like us, for ordinary people, it is like, we are like the muddied gold, the gold that is covered in mud. So through practice, through effort, we will be peel or rinse away all the dirt. And then one day, it will start to glitter. It started to shine like a normal gold. So we have the potential. So we must know that, because one form of laziness is this one, that I cannot do it. So from the Buddhist point of view, that is one form of laziness. I cannot do that. I don't have that potential. It is not my thing. So we have to convince ourselves. We have to develop this confidence that, I can do it. So some examples. So now the process, the Buddhist approach, how we can develop a particular positive quality. How can we reduce a particular negative emotion? There are three kind of a process involved in this. So the first, we have to gain understanding. So we have to come to class, we have to read, we have to listen to lectures, we have to understand what it is, how to do it, and what are the disadvantages, what are the benefits. So once we have this understanding, that's why it says gaining understanding derived through study. Once you have that intellectual understanding, we cannot just leave it there. If you leave it there, if you don't contemplate, at that time you will find that, it makes perfect sense. Oh, that's really good. Then next day when you try to recall, maybe you can recall 50%. And 1 week later, you don't even know what you have listened to. That's what it happens. But if you are able to contemplate on your understanding, sit down, think through, then what will happen is you will arrive at this conviction level. Oh, that's really true. So that is arisen through your personal analysis. So that kind of firms your understanding. So that will remain with you. And then, is that enough? That's not enough. You have conviction, but you haven't done anything. So that's when comes the meditation part. So you have understood, you have reflected on it, now you are trying to familiarize with that. You are trying to make that your second nature. You are trying to make that into your habit by engaging on it repeatedly. So the purpose of meditation is not relaxation. In the West, it's very common. Oh, I'm so stressed. I need to de-stress. Let's find our meditation place. So that's not the main point, the main goal. But of course, now mindfulness-based MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, that has become so popular. John Kaffab Zen, when he first introduced to the world this mindfulness practice. Of course, he couldn't bring all that Buddhist value, Buddhist principle. So he has to, accommodate the audience at that time. So that's why he has to introduce as a mindfulness-based stress reduction. And that's how it has become so popular nowadays. So now if you Google search mindfulness-based, you will see thousands of things. Mindfulness-based this, mindfulness-based that, mindfulness-based that. So from the Buddhist point of view, the purpose of meditation is to train and transform one's mind into one with a positive mental attitudes. You can train and transform your mind into one with a negative mental attitude. There's something called catharsis, isn't it? So one time it was encouraged that you shouldn't bottle up your anger. You must release it. So they offer this kind of a session where you can sign up, pay something, and then they will give you kind of a bed, and then you can just keep destroying things just to let out your anger. But the research has found that the more you engage in this, the more aggressive and angrier you becomes. Because you are familiarizing with that. You are training to become aggressive. So that doesn't really serve the problem. Solve the problem. Of course, there is short-term relief, but it doesn't help in long run. It makes it worse. So here is like we have so many qualities. At the moment, let's say anger, all these afflictive emotions, anger, jealousy, greed, attachment, all this, so easy for us to arise. Nobody has to tell you to do. No nudge or anything. Effortlessly, it arises. Just something, tiny thing that triggers, we are in the full blown of afflictive emotions, anger for example. But whereas if we are to cultivate a loving kindness, compassion, kind warm-heartedness for somebody, we really have to put effort. We really have to work hard. We really have to think through to generate such positive emotion. The reason, from the Buddhist point of view, the reason is that we have familiarized ourselves in these afflictive emotions life after life, because Buddhist believes in past lives. So we had so many opportunities. That's why it became our second nature. It's so easy. Whereas when it comes to the positive side, we are not that familiar with this. We haven't accustomed ourselves with these positive emotions that much. As a result, it is very difficult. So what we are trying to achieve through meditation is to make ourselves familiar with these positive emotions. Like mindfulness meditation. So one form can be make ourselves more attention focused. At the moment, it's very easy to distract our mind wandering. We cannot even focus on one thing, even for a short time. So like mindfulness meditation, so when you engage in that, so you are kind of driving your mind through this particular direction, so that through habit, we will be able to engage in it without effort. So it's like driving for the first time. If you have changed your office, so now you have to drive to a new place. So first several trips, you have to be careful. Of course, nowadays with GPS it's easy, but those days you really have to make sure that you don't miss the turns, you make sure that you are on the right road and all this. So you go one time, you drive the second time, third time, and after a while it becomes so easy. And you don't even notice that you have arrived there. Oh, I'm already here. You don't have to think. So that's what we want to have with the positive emotions. We don't have to think much, just automatically comes. How wonderful that would be. And it is possible. Why is it possible? Because of this brain plasticity, neuroplasticity. I'm trying to bring science here because we know that from the Buddhist point of view it's all there. But I'm trying to bring in support. Not that we need support, but just to share what the modern science find. So for a very long time, scientists were very adamant that, oh, once you reach certain age, the brain cannot change. It's fixed. Once you reach adulthood, there is no new connections formed, no neurons will give rise. That's it. So you have the first 20 years to kind of establish the network of your brain. After you reach that one, nothing you can do. But now they have found that that's not the case. Brains adapt and grows as we age. You can create more connections. You can generate new neurons, new connections, new synapses. All these are possible. And they have done actual research to show that. So that's why train your mind, change your brain. So if it is everything is brain, how the brain is formed, if everything depends on the formation of our brain, then we can be the architect. We can draw what kind of formation in the brain we want through training our mind. So you see, it's very encouraging that they have done actual science and says that yes, you can do it. You can change the way your brain is networked. So let's listen to, I have really cut short. This is Richard Davidson, who does a lot of research in mindfulness and also brain, neuroscience.
Have you ever trained your mind? Science leads us to understand that there are two fundamentally different kinds of learning. One form of learning we call declarative learning, which is learning about things. I can learn the value of kindness by sitting down and studying texts about kindness, but this won't necessarily lead us to become kinder. We can teach people the value of honesty, but this will not necessarily make them an honest person. In order to cultivate these qualities, we need a second form of learning, and that is called procedural learning. Neuroscience teaches us that these kinds of learning operate through totally different brain circuits. We need both to produce real transformation. The wiring in our brains is not fixed, it's adaptable, and we can harness the power of neuroplasticity to change our brain. Let me give you one example. This is an example from research that we did where we randomized people to a group that received compassion training for 2 weeks, another group that received training from cognitive therapy. We put people in the MRI scanner, before and after the 2 weeks of training. And lo and behold, we see systematic differences after just 7 hours of practice. Our brains can change in a remarkably rapid period of time. The changes that are displayed here are changes in a circuit that involve the prefrontal cortex and the ventral striatum, a circuit very important for certain kinds of positive emotions, which gets strengthened after just this short amount of practice. So these and other kinds of data indicate that the brain really can change quite quickly. It doesn't mean that these changes will last, but it means that they can occur, they can begin, and with systematic practice, they will endure. We view this as an urgent public health need. So we need to start someplace. I would recommend 3 minutes a day. When human beings first evolved on this planet, none of us were brushing our teeth. And yet, today, we all do. This is not part of our genome. This is a learned behavior. And it doesn't take much to start these mechanisms in the brain to change. So we can do this when we're doing other things. We can do this while we're commuting. We can do this as we're literally brushing our teeth. We can do this as we're having our first cup of coffee or tea in the morning. We can do this as we're walking. This can be incorporated in routines of our daily life. So we can nourish our mind, and through it we can change the world. We can reduce implicit bias that gets under the skin. This is something that we've shown can occur with strengthening connection. We can increase school achievement, and we've and others have shown this with training and awareness. We can reduce healthcare costs potentially by cultivating well-being, as the connections that I've illustrated show. We can cultivate a strong sense of purpose, we can reduce distraction, and we can increase
So it's very encouraging, isn't it? Just 2 weeks, you can see the results. And Richard Davidson is suggesting 3 minutes a day. That's doable, isn't it? 3 minutes. And when you do short sessions of meditation, you will enjoy. When you enjoy, you want to do more. So that's the trick. So now the question is, what is meditation? What do you understand when you hear the word meditation? Is this meditation? So there are a lot of misconceptions about meditations. Some people really believe that meditation is just blanking. Just blank out everything, don't think anything. So there was one time a prevailing kind of a notion in Tibet one time. So there was someone called Hashang from China. He came with that view, and people enjoy it because you don't have to do anything. Just close your eyes, blank out. That's the easiest thing to do. And they thought, that's something easy I can do, everybody can do. But that's not meditation. So they had a huge debate, and finally that was resolved. So meditation is not about blanking the mind. And how about this one then? Is it about thinking some pleasant, nice, going to, Meditation is not about thinking something pleasant. Of course, in therapies and all that they use, in order for the client or the person, in order to reduce the anxiety, you can say, okay, think about something pleasant. Visit that moment, because this is a distraction. So that's what we do for kids. When infants, when they cry, let's say if you have a phone and then the child stretches the hand for the phone and you don't want to give, and then of course the child cries. So what you do, you bring something else, a lollipop, and say, yeah, get distracted and then forgot that phone. So it can help to distract our mind from anxiety or something else, but that's not really the meditation. So what is meditation then? So meditation in Sanskrit says bhavana, means cultivation. So we can cultivate so many things, isn't it? Farmers cultivate every harvest season. But here we are talking about cultivation of inner qualities, the positive emotions. We need to cultivate positive emotions. And in Sanskrit, it's bhavana. So in Tibetan, the term is gom. So gom literally means familiarize, to become accustomed to. The more you engage in that particular activity, the more we become familiar with that particular activity. So it is about training and transforming the mind. So we have already covered this into one with a positive mental attitude. So the whole point is to bring about our positive qualities more often. So there are two types of meditations. Have you heard about the two types? Yeah, I know the Tibetans would know. Okay, good. So we have something called concentration meditation. So the highest level of that meditation is called shamatha. So when you reach that level, then you can remain in that meditation state for hours, for days. You can do that in the middle of the, what you call the hustle and bustle of whatever is the street. Nothing can distract you. It's very strong, very stable. To focus one's mind on one particular object to attain a level of single-pointed concentration. So here the focus is to develop single-pointed attention. At the moment, we don't have that. Just even for a few seconds, our mind wanders. The other form of meditation is called analytical meditation. So they call it vipassana. So what this is to develop a clear understanding of a topic through analysis and reason. So here we are not trying to develop single-pointed attention. We are really trying to develop this conviction. So we bring in examples from our life or other things that we hear, all bring from all together, from all sides, and then try to develop this conviction. For example, I think we will come later, for example, like anger. We do analytical meditation all the time, but we do for the wrong reason. How do we get angry at somebody else? It's not just that, of course there are these angers, but some angers like really through analysis. You get angry at somebody, and even let's say worse, hatred. If you develop hatred must come from analytical meditation. You think of that person and then you count reasons why that person is such and such, why that person needs to be taught a lesson, why you should get even with that person. Before you reach that conclusion, you have already gone through so many reasons. He has done this for me, or last time he said this thing, or this time he's doing, now look at him, he's doing this. Or he has caused harm to my family, or my friends, he said something true. All these are analytical meditation. You have come to the conclusion because you have analyzed all this. So we are very good at it. But only thing is that we are not using it to cultivate positive emotions. So now we have to switch that. And we say that we need both of these. The single-pointed meditation, the concentration, as well as analytical meditation. Both are important. In terms of sequence, we develop the single-pointedness first, and then we do the analytical meditation. But we need both. You can see from the image, if you are to cut a tree down, of course nowadays here you have those gadgets, the chainsaw. You don't need to rely on this. In old days, the only thing you have is an axe. For that, first of all, axe need to be very sharp. If it is blunt, no matter how many times, how long you spend time, it's not going to cut through. And not only it needs to be sharp, but your hands need to be steady. If you keep hitting on every time on a different spot, then you won't be able to fall that tree. So likewise, we need this single-pointed, the ability to remain on the object single-pointedly. And then on top of that, we need that analytical meditation. So combined, we will be able to achieve what we are aiming to achieve. So the importance, this is to highlight the importance of the union of calm abiding and spatial insight. So just to give a few examples, types of mindful meditation. So you may be doing one of these. Attention-focused mindful meditation. This is a common thing that we do. Most basic mindfulness practice is this one, attention focus. They will ask you to choose a focus, object of a focal point, and then you just rest your mind on that focal point. So that is attention-focused mindfulness. So this is common. We will simulate, we will do later. And then other one is resting the mind in its natural state. So this is also a common thing. So this time, instead of focusing your mind on your breath or a chosen object, you just observe your mind. All kinds of thoughts. You just observe and watch your thoughts. That all kinds of thoughts rising, and then it's just dissolving without, or what you call the suspending the judgment. Without judging anything, just observe. So this is the whole point of this, is to get to the in-depth of our mind. Is the example is like this. So the ocean, the sea or ocean, at the surface, some days it could be calm depending on whether there's wind or not. Some days it will be very rough. But if you go down at the depth of the sea, it is very calm. So likewise, our mind, and on the surface there may be all kind of agitation, all this thing, but if you are able to penetrate into the depth of your mind, then you will be able to find that stillness, that calm mind. And then, of course, body scan meditation. You just run your attention all throughout your sensation, your body, just to notice the sensation. And then meditation on impurity, impermanence, suffering nature. So this is really going into the Buddhist meditation, real meditation. So when we do all this mindfulness meditation, so the modernized version of this mindful meditation, they don't teach you to reflect on impermanence and all this. But that was meant to be. So when you close your eyes and when you meditate, when you observe, especially if you are watching your breath, if you are resting your mind on your breath, you will notice that this rounds of breath keep changing. You breathe in, you breathe out, that's end of one cycle. Then another fresh one comes. So these are to help us the impermanent nature of things. Through observing this, oh, like my breath is impermanent. It doesn't last. Even though it's like permanently there, but it's all replaced by another cycle of breath. And then sensation, when you observe the sensation, yeah, I feel some itchy here, but then it goes. It comes, goes, comes, goes. So through this, these are to help us to gain insight into the impermanence. But of course, nowadays, nobody teaches you to do that. And especially what we call the emptiness of self or selflessness. So when we feel any sensation, it could be nice, pleasant feeling, it could be unpleasant feeling, it could be neutral. So when whatever sensation we feel, we say that, oh, I feel pain, I feel pleasant, I don't feel anything. So we say I, but where is I? We are only pointing to those sensations. If you were to search and pinpoint where that I is, when we say I am feeling this, I'm feeling, it is not. We give this what we call designation or the label to a series of sensations. That's all there is. So through this kind of realization, through this kind of analysis, so we are supposed to gain insight into the selflessness of a person, of I. There's nothing I solid there. So that's the real meditation there. But for now, we are not going to do that. We will just do the modernized one. So just to give an analytical method, so recall a moment of anger. You can try doing this. So recall a moment of anger. So everybody has a moment of anger. Gently bring to mind a recent situation where you felt angry. It could be this morning, just 1 hour ago. Gently bring to mind a recent situation where you felt angry. And then analyze the experience. Ask, what caused this anger? So you replay that incident and try to pinpoint what was the cause. How did it start? Was the anger helpful or harmful? So this is important. So you're getting upset, you're getting angry, losing your cool. Was that helpful or was that harmful? Is the person or situation inherently bad, or am I projecting it? Because when we are in the midst of anger, we see the other person 100% negative. And whatever the issue is, completely that person's fault. It's like I have nothing to do with it. It's all his or her fault. But if you really rewind and slow motion, play it in a slow motion, is that the case? Is the person or situation inherently bad? Or am I projecting it? Then apply wisdom. So after all this, you will realize that anger leads to suffering. For me, as well as others. So when was there any time when you felt that, anger led to happiness? Rarely, always unhappy. The other person is also suffering or confused, just like me. So just like me, other person said this or that out of anger. He's under the control of anger. We always give this excuse. I'm so sorry that, I said this thing because I was under the control of anger. So if we say that, then we should also accept the other person. That, that person also said it out of anger. He or she didn't say it because the person has freedom. Everything arises from causes and conditions. Then we also need to consider the circumstances. What are the other factors that has given rise to this situation? So after all going through this, then you reach at the conclusion, and then you decide to cultivate patience or compassion or some kind of understanding towards the person or situation. So all this you need to think. You need to bring in other reasons, analyze, and then you arrive at this conclusion, it's no point getting angry. And then try to remain on that conviction for as long as possible. So that's how we do it. Okay. So there are two obstacles when we do meditation. One is, as you see, how the popcorn, when you do popcorn, so this is what's happening in our mind. Mental excitation, distraction, all kinds of thoughts pops up. Especially when you have to focus on something single pointed. When you are not supposed to have thoughts, all these thoughts come up. So that's why we are saying that if you cannot remember something, do meditation. Sit down, meditate, and all this will come up. I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this. And then the other obstacle is mental laxity or mental sinking. It's not really sleepy, it's that it doesn't have that power to hold the object. You feel kind of this sinking sensation. You are not, energetic, active. So these are the tools that we can use. This is mainly for single-pointed concentration. So when we do, this is the given. This is how elephants are trained, using rope, stick, and hook. So likewise, we use mindfulness. The way the elephant trainer used a rope to tie the elephant to a stake, whatever focus that you are choosing. And then as and when the elephant go or doesn't follow, so he uses the hook. So this is like introspective vigilance. So you notice that your mind has wandered, and then you bring it back. Or we call it two mental muscles at work. This is like the surveillance camera. One is the mindfulness. This is important because this is the one that remembers where to focus your mind. And then we have the introspective. These two go hand in hand. So you have read about this one, the benefits of doing mindfulness meditation. So this group of kids were caught during a flooding in the cave. And I think for how many days they survived. It's mainly because the coach, he taught them meditation. They did meditation and they attribute their survival to mindfulness meditation. Okay, so this is a bit longish one. So if you don't mind watching this, wandering mind is an unhappy mind. So this is a popular research.
So people want a lot of things out of life, but I think more than anything else, they want happiness. Aristotle called happiness the chief good, the end towards which all other things aim. According to this view, the reason we want a big house, or a nice car, or a good job, isn't that these things are intrinsically valuable. It's that we expect them to bring us happiness. Now, in the last 50 years, we Americans have gotten a lot of the things that we want. We're richer, we live longer, we have access to technology that would have seemed like science fiction just a few years ago. The paradox of happiness is that even though the objective conditions of our lives have improved dramatically, we haven't actually gotten any happier. Maybe because these conventional notions of progress haven't delivered big benefits in terms of happiness, there's been an increased interest in recent years in happiness itself. People have been debating the causes of happiness for a really long time, in fact, for thousands of years, but it seems like many of those debates remain unresolved. As with many other domains in life, I think the scientific method has the potential to answer this question. In fact, in the last few years, there's been an explosion in research on happiness. For example, we've learned a lot about its demographics, how things like income and education, gender and marriage relate to it. But one of the puzzles this has revealed is that factors like these don't seem to have a particularly strong effect. Yes, it's better to make more money rather than less, or to graduate from college instead of dropping out, but the differences in happiness tend to be small. Which leaves the question, what are the big causes of happiness? I think that's a question we haven't really answered yet, but I think something that has the potential to be an answer is that maybe happiness has an awful lot to do with the contents of our moment-to-moment experiences. It certainly seems as we're going about our lives that what we're doing, who we're with, what we're thinking about have a big influence on our happiness, and yet these are the very factors that have been very difficult, in fact almost impossible for scientists to study. A few years ago, I came up with a way to study people's happiness, moment to moment, as they're going about their daily lives on a massive scale all over the world, something we'd never been able to do before. Called trackyourhappiness.org, it uses the iPhone to monitor people's happiness in real time. How does this work? Basically, I send people signals at random points throughout the day, and then I ask them a bunch of questions about their moment-to-moment experience at the instant just before the signal. The idea is that if we can watch how people's happiness goes up and down over the course of the day, minute to minute in some cases, and try to understand what people are doing, who they're with, what they're thinking about, and all the other factors that describe our day, how those might relate to those changes in happiness, we might be able to discover some of the things that really have a big influence on happiness. We've been fortunate with this project to collect quite a lot of data, a lot more data of this kind than I think has ever been collected before. Over 650,000 real-time reports from over 15,000 people. And it's not just a lot of people, it's a really diverse group. People from a wide range of ages, from 18 to late 80s, a wide range of incomes, education levels, people who are married, divorced, widowed, etc. They collectively represent every one of 86 occupational categories and hail from over 80 countries. What I'd like to do with the rest of my time with you today is talk a little bit about one of the areas that we've been investigating, and that's mind wandering. As human beings, we have this unique ability to have our minds stray away from the present. This guy's sitting here working on his computer, and yet he could be thinking about the vacation he had last month, wondering what he's going to have for dinner. Maybe he's worried that he's going bald. This ability to focus our attention on something other than the present is really amazing. It allows us to learn and plan and reason in ways that no other species of animal can. And yet, it's not clear what the relationship is between our use of this ability and our happiness. You've probably heard people suggest that you should stay focused on the present. Be here now, you've probably heard 100 times. Maybe to really be happy, we need to stay completely immersed and focused on our experience in the moment. Maybe these people are right, maybe mind wandering is a bad thing. On the other hand, when our minds wander, they're unconstrained. We can't change the physical reality in front of us, but we can go anywhere in our minds. Since we know people want to be happy, maybe when our minds wander, they're going to someplace happier than the place that they're leaving. It would make a lot of sense. In other words, maybe the pleasures of the mind allow us to increase our happiness with mind wandering. Well, since I'm a scientist, I'd like to try to resolve this debate with some data. And in particular, I'd like to present some data to you from 3 questions that I asked with Track Your Happiness. Remember, this is from sort of moment-to-moment experience in people's real lives. There are 3 questions. The first one is a happiness question. How do you feel on a scale ranging from very bad to very good? Second, an activity question. What are you doing on a list of 22 different activities, including things like eating and working and watching TV? And finally, a mind-wandering question. Are you thinking about something other than what you're currently doing? People could say no. In other words, I'm focused only on my task. Or, yes, I am thinking about something else, and the topic of those thoughts are pleasant, neutral, or unpleasant. Any of those yes responses are what we call mind wandering. So what did we find? This graph shows happiness on the vertical axis, and you can see that bar there representing how happy people are when they're focused on the present, when they're not mind wandering. As it turns out, people are substantially less happy when their minds are wandering than when they're not. Now you might look at this result and say, okay, sure, on average people are less happy when they're mind wandering, but surely when their minds are straying away from something that wasn't very enjoyable to begin with, at least then mind wandering should be doing something good for us. Nope. As it turns out, people are less happy when they're mind wandering no matter what they're doing. For example, people don't really like commuting to work very much. It's one of their least enjoyable activities, and yet they are substantially happier when they're focused only on their commute than when their mind is going off to something else. It's amazing. So how could this be happening? I think part of the reason, a big part of the reason, is that when our minds wander, we often think about unpleasant things, and they are enormously less happy when they do that. Our worries, our anxieties, our regrets. And yet, even when people are thinking about something neutral, they're still considerably less happy than when they're not mind wandering at all. Even when they're thinking about something they would describe as pleasant, they're actually just slightly less happy than when they aren't mind wandering. If mind wandering were a slot machine, it would be like having the chance to lose $50, $20, or $1, right? You'd never want to play. So I've been talking about this, suggesting perhaps that mind wandering causes unhappiness, but all I've really shown you is that these 2 things are correlated. It's possible that's the case, but it might also be the case that when people are unhappy, then they mind wander. Maybe that's what's really going on. How could we ever disentangle these 2 possibilities? Well, one fact that we can take advantage of, I think a fact you'll all agree is true, is that time goes forward, not backward, right? The cause has to come before the effect. We're lucky in this data, we have many responses from each person, and so we can look and see, does mind wandering tend to precede unhappiness, or does unhappiness tend to precede mind wandering, to get some insight into the causal direction. As it turns out, there is a strong relationship between mind wandering now and being unhappy a short time later, consistent with the idea that mind wandering is causing people to be unhappy. In contrast, there's no relationship between being unhappy now and mind wandering a short time later. In other words, mind wandering very likely seems to be an actual cause and not merely a consequence of unhappiness. A few minutes ago, I likened mind wandering to a slot machine you'd never want to play. Well, how often do people's minds wander? Turns out they wander a lot. In fact,
okay, I think we got the point. I think I forgot to break at 11, so we're already 11, almost 11:30. Okay, so I think this you can just glance. Okay, I think we stop here. We have a 10 minutes break. There's a tea there, and then we will conclude with meditation. We try meditation, and then we conclude. The tea is at the back.